Good morning to all of you. Today I am going to explain history of the first independence, India. As we know that we get independence on 15th August 1947. So my dear friends, today we coming with the new topic post-independence India. After independence, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru become the first PM of our country, India. India is very vast country, as we know that it cover whole 2% of the land masses and with the population of 1.25 billion population and fifth biggest economy in the world. So India is a very big and vast country to the point of view. So we have to study about the post-independence India, history of the India for the better understanding of our country, and this is very important topic of our examinations like UPSC and other PCS examinations and any general examination. So my dear friends, let's come to the new topic post independence. How much scenario happened after the independence till today. So this is a very important to us. So first of all, concentrate on the two part of the article, two parts of the constitution. As we know that we have 395 article in our constitution and 12 schedule and 35 part in our constitution. Today we discuss two parts of the constitution, third part and fourth part. Fundamental right coming under the third part of the constitution and DPSP coming in the fourth part of the constitution. Here also coming forward. So this is coming under the fourth part of the constitution. This is the third part of the constitution. We have 35 part in our constitution. In fundamental right coming under article 12th to 35th. 12th article, introduction of the fundamental right. Article 13th is basically we can amend our constitution, but we cannot hurt our basic structure of the constitution. So article 13 is basically on this. From the article 14 onwards, only our fundamental rights are coming, like in our article 14, right to equality. Article 15, we are equal on the basis of gender, sex and anything. So this is all the articles, and this is also the article, this is also the DPSP articles, DPSP articles coming from 36 to 51. In 36th article, in this article, introduction of the DPSP and many more articles in the DPSP we can discuss in some other video about the articles. But today we will going to discuss about the post-independence India, what is the time period of the Jawaharlal Nehru, how the Indian politics is going and happening in our country. So Jawaharlal Nehru become PM after 1947 by the indirect election, but first general election happened in 1951 and result coming on 1952 onwards. On the 1950, so the Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru become the PM with the 2/3 of majority in the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. So then come to the other part of the discussion. Jawaharlal Nehru charged as a PM of India. So you see the very wide difference between the rich and poor. Rich is very rich, they have many acres of land, but poor have landless laborers. They have not even to feed own self. So Jawaharlal Nehru have very big challenge to create social and economical equality among the peoples. Without the social equality happening from earlier also, but this is time to economical reform. This time to economical equality. social equality happened by the Article 17 abolishment of untouchability. Abolishment of the untouchability by the Article 17 is the major transformation and reform of the social improvement, social equality. But now come to we get the social reform by the fundamental rights and many more. Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar and many other leaders doing the social equality, but country want now economical reforms, so we can live happily in the country, and the economy of the country could go hand in hand, and we get the more economical growth, because we recently independence. On that we have no any resources to earn the money. Our large part of the GDP coming from the agriculture only. So in the first 5-year plan, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru only focus on the agriculture. So when he focused on the agriculture, he took the very major differences in the poor and riches. So he want to do the amendment, first amendment in 1951. So doing amendment is not an easy task for any government. So he had Schedule 9. Schedule 9 basically before 1951 we have only 8th schedule in our constitution, but after that from 1951 onwards nowadays we have 12th schedule. In 1951 9th schedule is happening. So in the 9th schedule, this is basically on land reform. Land reform means equal distribution of land among rich and poor. Those who have not even 1 acre of land, not even single inch of land, they have at least get some land to survival of own self and own family, and from this economical equality in the country basically come to. So this FN land reform happening by this, but for this many rich farmers and jamidars file the case. This is our fundamental right to property. How any government can take our land arbitrarily and violently. So Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru do many amendments and make a Schedule 9. In Schedule 9, Article 39, he abolished by adding the clause A and B, he abolished the right to property and written in the schedule by the constitutional amendment. Constitutional amendment basically happened by the 2/3 of the majority. So this is not an easy task, but that time government is very powerful, because after independence Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru is a very powerful PM, because he get full mandate of the people. If any government get full mandate of the people, that become very powerful, that control sometimes judiciary also, and so any case is filed against the government, then basically the judiciary do judgment and in favor of government. So this is the whole scenario happening after the independence. In Article 31, clause A and B, this is in this clause in 31. Clause is added by the Jawaharlal Nehru on the land reform, that land reform is very very essential for our society. So we can take the land from the jamidars and pig farmers, they have excess land. If anybody have more than 30 acres of the land, then the land is taken by the government. If any person has 60 acres of land, then the 30 acres is left to that person, and 30 acres taken by the government to redistribution of the land. So this becomes the very critical case in our country, and many zamindars, many big farmers not want to give on land, and that become very difficult situation for the government, and many cases happen against the government. Like in 1965, Sajjan Singh case, 1967 Golaknath case, many more cases from the Jawaharlal Nehru period is happening. So all these kind of things happen. So coming to the next part of the discussion is that here we written the Article 13 and Article 368. What is this actually? Article 13. In the Article 13, Parliament can do constitutional amendment, but without the hurting of the basic structure of the Constitution. So according to this article, in the article already written that Parliament can amend the Constitution according to their need, because the Indian Constitution is flexible. This is not very flexible, but it is also flexible. It is not very rigid. So we can amend our Constitution, but only for the interest of the people and the welfare of the people. But in the process of amendment of the Constitution, we cannot hurt the basic structure of the Constitution. Like fundamental right is the basic structure of the Constitution. So this is basic structure of the Constitution. It added the term in the 1973. But before that we can amend the Constitution arbitrarily. But judiciary added the term basic structure. So, but in Article 368, this is the process. This is in the article only the process of the government is happening. How the amendment of the Constitution is happening, who will amend, how this amendment. This is actually on the amendment of the Constitution. This is the process to amend the Constitution. Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru amend the Constitution by this article, Article 368. But many people filed a case against the government on the basis of this article, because the Article 368 coming under the Article 13. So on the basis of Article 13, that government cannot hurt the basic structure of the Constitution, and the fundamental right is the basic structure of the Constitution. Right to property is the fundamental right at that time. So the many people that our fundamental right is abolished. We have right to property. So government cannot take our land, because this is our fundamental right. We have a right to keep property with own self. We cannot give the property. So many cases happen, but as we know that government is in full majority, government do amendment by adding the 9th schedule and abolish the fundamental right like right to property, because it is coming against the land reform. On that time, land reform is very essential for our country. If land reform not happen, then we cannot develop as now, because after land reform many peoples get land and do agriculture and contribute to the Indian GDP on that time and now also, because if anybody have no land, he cannot even feed oneself and not even contribute to our country, because the work is necessary for every people. If any person have no any land, he cannot have enough money to feed oneself. If not feed oneself, how can work as a labor? If not he work as a labor, be not growth in agriculture, and we will automatically ruined. So Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru understand this scenario and he amend this constitutional amendment. This is the one part of the amendment, and in our country many amendment happening on the basis of education. Education is also in the DPSP. So government want to teach poor peoples and want to give reservation in jobs and many educational institutions, but many rich people coming against the government decision, because government on the basis of Article 14 on the right to equality, we get equal opportunity in our country. So if anybody get reservation, then right to equality is abolished. But government argue that it is not. Basically government can take favor of any disadvantaged group, any vulnerable group that have no enough money. Government can help that person to succeed in the life and contribute in our Indian GDP and economy and the growth of our country. So on this argue, government also give right to education by the amendment of the constitution, because if anything happen in our country, we have very many argument coming, many cases happening, but all these things is very necessary for our country. Like land reform is also very necessary for our country. Landless labor should get land to cultivate oneself and feed oneself. If he have no land, how that person can survive? And education is also, as we know, that education, health, all these things are very essential for our life. So government take initiatives, many people going against and filing the case, but case is happening and all this process is going on, and government work in own way, and many people doing own self and own decision. So at last Jawaharlal Nehru is succeeded in doing 9th schedule, and land reform happening, and many redistribution of land also happen. Meanwhile many cases happens, like Sadan Singh case, Golaknath case, and many more cases, like last case Keswanand Bharti case. All these case, Minerva Mill case, all this case is against the land reform bill only, because government want to take land, but many people not want to give on land. Suppose nowadays more than lakh of hectare is not land, it is land for redistribution, but not redistributed by the, because of the all these cases, because government is not able to take that land from that persons and redistribute to the real necessities, because this is the very hard work to do. So we have to understand all the scenario, how the country and the government is running, and how any government take decision, and how the country is working in own way. So now come to the other part of the discussion, is that as we understand that by the 9th schedule of the constitution we do the land reform. So my dear friends, first of all we have to understand what is the schedules. As we earlier discussed that we have 12 schedule. In first schedule is only a category in the constitution. Our constitution divided into 9, our 12th schedule. In first schedule in our constitution we discusses about in this schedule introduction of the country and many more. In second schedule citizenship, in fourth schedule oath taking process, in third schedule, in fourth schedule DPSP, fifth schedule SC ST related bill, and seventh SC ST area reservations, and sixth schedule tribal people, ST/SC area reservations. In 7th schedule, we have distributed the work of the government like a state list, concurrent list, central list according to 7th schedule. According to 8th schedule, we make the states on the basis of languages. Earlier we have only 14th states. Nowadays we have 28 states and 9 UTs. And 9th schedule we have discussed now, and 10th schedule anti-defection law that happens in 1985 by the Rajiv Gandhi. And 11th schedule for Panchayati Raj and 12th schedule for municipalities. We all know all these are of polity subject, schedules, parts of the constitutions. So now we are going to discuss what will happen after Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru died in 1964, as we know that, because after Indo-China War in 1962, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru get depression and die, because many historians and many people said because of the Indo-China War depression he died, because Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru have trust on the China that he will never do war with us. So he is not ready to war, but China declared war in 1964 and occupied the Aksai Sin area in Kashmir in 1962 only. On that time our army is not ready, but on that time we have a strong air force and navy, but our defense minister Krishna Menon in 1962 did not give permission to the navy and air force to fight, because he have feared that if we declare the air force war and navy war, we can get more losses and more. This is the wrong decision of Krishna Menon. Almost we lost the war and also lost our area of Aksai Sin. If we declare the war on the air force level or navy level, we can not lose at least Aksai Sin. So this is a wrong decision. In the time of the war, Jawaharlal Nehru is in Nepal. Krishna Menon, defense minister, not give suitable decision and stop the air force and navy. So this is the history of the war, how we can lose the war. But after this, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru get very hurt, and after 2 years only he died. After death of the Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru in 1964, in Indian politics very big vacuum happened, because Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru was a very weak leader. After him, who will become the PM? Here is the very big vacuum happen in the Indian politics. Here many people want to become PM, like Indira Gandhi, Monarji Desai, and many more. By the Senate of the government, means the higher level of the leaders of the Congress, decision come that Jawaharlal Nehru after Jawaharlal Nehru, Lal Bahadur Shastri is good person and he can become the PM of our country. So after several debates and meetings and many more discussions, and by the Congress, next leader chosen as Lal Bahadur Shastri. He is also very charismatic leader. He born on 2nd October 1904. So after he becoming the PM, also the many great challenges coming in front of him, like 1965 Indo-Pakistan war. In this war we lose the POK. Pakistan occupied Kashmir. That time, before that we have POK area, but we lose that area. So in the reign of Lal Bahadur Shastri, country get hunger situations, like consequently in 1965 and 1966 drought coming, agriculture ruined, and he is argued to the citizen of our country that not feed at least one meal of the day. So this is the situation of our country. But after only 2 years, he also died mysteriously in 1966 after the Tashkent agreement with the Pakistan. This is actually, Tashkent agreement is actually a ceasefire of the 1965 war. In this agreement, Yaqub Khan and our PM Lal Bahadur Shastri signed an agreement. So after the signing of this Tashkent agreement, Lal Bahadur Shastri mysteriously die, and no clue is coming till now. After Lal Bahadur Shastri death, very big vacuum coming in the Indian politics, because after Lal Bahadur Shastri, who will become the next PM of our country? Here so after the death of the Lal Bahadur Shastri, after the Tashkent agreement, Indira Gandhi want to PM, Monardi Desai and many more leaders. Kingmaker, Kamraj and many more Senate in the Congress, many big leaders in the Congress. After the many debate, many discussion, many meetings, on the last, Indira Gandhi chosen as the PM, because Kamraj and many more leaders thought that she will not do anything, that she will work in favor of our wish. So the Congress leader choose the Indira Gandhi as a PM, because all the senior Congress leader want that she will work as our wish. Also many leaders say him, say her Gungi Guria. So Indira Gandhi is also known as Gungi Guria. But she is, after the becoming PM, he work on the opposite of the wish of the senates and many big leaders, because she is many very charismatic leaders of our Indian politics. Indira Gandhi do many more great achievement for our country, and many amendment done by also Indira Gandhi, because she is very powerful government and she is very powerful lady as well. Her decision is very quick and serious upon our nation, because her decision is very basic, essential for Indian development and Indian politics. He diverts the Indian politics, because she do many good things in Indian politics. She become the third PM of our India, and she is the first lady PM of Indian. She become PM. She become PM in 1966, 24th January 1966 to 14th March 1977. This is the terms of, after that, after in 1977 Janata government come to the power for 18 months. After that in 1980 to 31st October 1984, she was also a PM of our country. So she almost 17 years Indira Gandhi become PM for our country. She is almost live as a PM for almost 17 years. So from this time only, in almost now Indira Gandhi is the long term ruling CM of our country, because she ruled our country almost 17 years. Till now no PM is ruled for 17 years. Even Lal Bahadur Shastri is not ruled for 17 years, he is almost ruled for 16 years almost. So after Jawaharlal Nehru, she is the more ruled PM of our country, but she do many more good things. So the time period of the Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru is 24 years and Indira Gandhi is 17 years. So now we discussing on the Indira Gandhi. Indira Gandhi is the first lady PM of our country. So she do many great work, great achievement. So in this time period, she have many more challenges to run our country, because senior leader in the Congress want her to work under own his self leadership, but Indira Gandhi work independently. And in 1969 she get separated from the Senate and make own other Congress. In 1969 one more political scenario happening, that first time in non-Congress government come in power in any state. In Kerala, by the DMK party in Kerala make a government of M. Karunanidhi. M. Karunanidhi become the first CM of the Kerala. So also known as EWS, M. Karunanidhi. He become the first CM. When Indira Gandhi gets separated from the Congress, DMK is the party only who support the Indira Gandhi in 1969 to make a government after separating from the senior leaders of the Congress. In 1969 only many elections happening, like election of president like B.B. Giri. After the death of the previous president, B.B. Giri become the vice president. After that, Congress want to in president election from the Congress party. Neelam Sanjeeva Reddy stand in the election, and from Indira Gandhi stand election by the B.B. Giri. Indira Gandhi asked to the MPs and MLA to vote on the in conscience, not on the basis on the party system. If any person is more good, vote that person. Give the vote from the conscience, from Antaratma, not on the any rules. As we know that in conscience vote is very very essential in the 1969 election. Neelam Sanjeeva Reddy lost the election and VV Giri won the election and become the president of the country. From that time only Congress party divided into two parts, Indira Gandhi Congress and Senate's group Congress. So after that many things took place. In 1971 election is happening. Election have to happen in 1972, but Indira Gandhi done election in 1971 only, because a state election and central election is same date, so she can get more vote in both these things, because that time election happen only in 4 years. Election can happen any time by the, if PM want to do election. So election happened in 1971. Many party Congress, other Congress opposed the Indira Gandhi, and Monarch Desai also opposed the Indira Gandhi, but many party do the nara that Indira hatao, but Indira Gandhi do the nara, give the slogan that Garibi hatao. On that basis Indira won the election and become PM next time. After becoming the PM, she get full mandate in the full majority in the government, and she become very powerful PM of the country. So on that time many discussion is happening that on the basis of privy purse. The privy purse actually giving some salary to the kings and many zamindar for the favors. So by the 26th constitutional amendment, Indira Gandhi abolished the privy purse. By the 25th constitutional amendment, she nationalized the 14th bank. According to this constitutional amendment, that bank have property more than 50 crore. That bank automatically become government bank, means public bank. On that time 14 bank become the public bank. By the 25th constitutional amendment, by the 29th constitutional amendment, Kerala Land Reform Act coming. Kerala Land Reform Act, on this, by this act only the Kerala bill coming. That in Kerala also land reform bill happen. This is the case actually. On this case, also known as Kesavanand Bharti case only. Kesavanand Bharti filed case against Kerala Land Reform Act, and in 1973, and that case won by the Kesavanand Bharti case, because that time government have not much powerful, but not much powerful, and that time only the Indira get some defeats only. After in 1955, in 25th June 1975, she do emergency in whole country. All this scenario is interlinked to each other. So Kerala, Indira Gandhi is very very powerful PM, but every PM have some loophole. So all, if I will say earlier that if government is more strong, then judgment come in the favor of government. But if any time government is have less majority or any difficulty coming in government, then judiciary give judgment not in the favor of the government wish. But as we know, the judiciary is independence body. They have not biased to any institutions or any government or any private members. They have only have to do decision on the basis of truth, evidence, and many more things. They have not. This is the institution not for favoring anybody or any institutions or any things. This is independence body only. So favoring of judiciary to any institution or government is not good things, but it will happen when the government is in more power, in more majority, but this is not a good things. So all these things is happening, but in Kesavananda Bharati case, Indira Gandhi get defeat because in Kesavananda Bharati case, judiciary said that we can do constitutional amendment, but we can't hurt the basic structure of the constitution. But many times basic structure of the constitution is hurted, but so this is the judgment. This is a good judgment, but that was the defeat according to the Indira Gandhi own self. So she in 1971 election, one minister, one candidate, Kalyan Singh, filed case against Indira Gandhi that somebody help in election campaign Indira Gandhi, some private institution support the Indira Gandhi in election campaigning. Like Indira Gandhi, charge against Indira Gandhi that tent in the Delhi made by the public servant, that is not that public servant used in election campaigning. On that basis, case filed in the court, in subordinate court, case filed in that court. Mohanlal was the judge. Mohanlal was a very honest judge. So he called Indira Gandhi in the court. So Mohanlal called her. She come and case going on in own way, and at last judgment come against the Indira Gandhi. Indira Gandhi lost the case, and Mohanlal give the judgment that Indira Gandhi not fight election for some year. So that is the very big defeat of the Indira Gandhi. So Indira Gandhi gets tense, and many more events is coming, and so that Indira Gandhi get tense and do constitutional amendment. So she imposed the emergency in 1975. As we know that in 1 year of emergency, many loot, many murder, many Indira Gandhi used police, bureaucracy, and many more institutions as in the favor of oneself. That was the main black spot of the Congress. That many nowadays also many political party argue that Indira Gandhi and the Congress impose emergency and do several things in the wishes of the peoples, and many people killed and many people die, and many economical activity and social economical activity ruined. So as we know that emergency imposed in our country for 1 year is very bad year for our country, that ruined our country almost for 1 year at least. So on the basis of emergency, lakhs of the leader arrest of the Janata Party, opposition leaders arrested and beating up. So after the emergency in 1977, new government come, Janata Party government, and Monarji Desai become the PM. So he also want to become PM from initial day only. So he become the PM, and and Janata Party government, and many cases charged against Indira Gandhi and her bureaucracy. And many cases imposed on the Indira Gandhi by the new government of Monarji Desai. But Monarji Desai government is not run for many years, because this is the coalition government. This government more than many parties, and Indira, and in the party only many people want to become PM. Monarji Desai become PM, but in the party Charan Singh and many more leaders want to become a PM. So after some month, Indira Gandhi support Charan Singh, and Monarji Desai government fall down, and after the 18th month also the Charan Singh government fall down, because Congress withdrawal own support. So we can understand the political scenario how happen in our country, how government become, how government fall, how next government become. In 1980 re-election happened, and Indira Gandhi once again become PM. In that time she was very powerful PM. So he do constitutional amendment, many constitutional amendment. He previously done constitutional amendment, that 39th constitutional amendment, that no PM can go to the subordinate court for any judgment. Only High Court and Supreme Court PM can go. So because he get a defeat from the subordinate court, that by the constitutional amendment only he doing the judgment of the subordinate court only, because Mohanlal not favor her, but he favor in Supreme Court and High Court. So many judgment happen. After that, in 1954 she died, because she do Mission Blue Star. In Mission Blue Star he killed some militant in the Punjab. He is known as Bhindranwala. Bhindranwala is militant group in the Pakistan. He want to distribute Punjab into two parts, but Indira Gandhi do Mission Blue Star and kill Bhindranwala in Golden Temple, and Golden Temple get broken, so it hurt the Sikh community, and in the mission only many Sikh community is also killed. So two Sikh bodyguard killed Indira Gandhi on 31st October 1984 only, because Sikh community had from this date only. From this date only, Indira Gandhi also alert that by his intelligence that ma'am, you have danger from the Sikh community. You can remove the Sikh bodyguard, because from that bodyguard you have some danger. But Indira Gandhi neglect that on the name of secularism, because she said that we have secular country, we cannot distinguish person on the basis of religion. If we have Sikh bodyguard, we live with Sikh bodyguard only. We not change any bodyguard. We not change in any security system. So she not pay attention to the intelligence. So the incident happened on the 31st October 1984, and she killed by own Sikh bodyguard. From this only Indira Gandhi story come to end, and after that Rajiv Gandhi become the PM with full mandate in 1985. He get 405 seats, 415 seats, almost 15 seats in Lok Sabha. From till today, no PM get 415 seats. So this is the whole story, and rest we will discuss something later. So thank you. Have a nice day.